You know, the real test of a political system is not to figure out what it says that it values. It's to find out what actually makes people angry enough to demand real change. So in Europe today, big real-world problems like their energy disasters, security threats, ongoing war, rising crime in cities, a lot of this gets brushed off with almost no public fury. But say something blunt that challenges how the elites prefer to talk about the world, and the outrage explodes. And this isn't because the European people don't care. It's because the leaders and the media decide which issues are okay to get mad about, and which ones are quietly accepted and brushed under the rug. Look at what just happened in Davos, the World Economic Forum. Lots of focus on rhetorical fights and power plays and geopolitics, while the bigger crises that are actually affecting daily lives of people, almost no heat whatsoever. Real problems that slide by with minimal anger, right? Nord Stream pipeline sabotage. Biggest industrial sabotage in European history, basically. Huge ramifications for the future of Europe. Dependent on Russia. Energy crises. Probably done by a NATO member. Guess which one? Brushed under the rug. As massive and incredibly destructive as that thing was, just completely forgotten about. How about this for a crisis? How about Russia, putting drones and missiles accidentally into NATO countries? Probably was accidents, but still, huge escalations, not really treated as such. Minor accidents and technical incidents, that's what they're calling them. How about the war in Ukraine as a crisis, right? Now it just feels like a managed news story, not an urgent emergency. One of the crises of our time, a humanitarian disaster on a scale that it's not even going to be fully comprehensible for another couple decades after they finish digging through the rubble. What did get people angry? What did the corporate media allow you to get angry about in Europe the past couple weeks? What Donald Trump had to say about Greenland? Him threatening tariffs and things like that, treated like this huge, massive, urgent problem. The world's about to end. And the geography of it all makes perfect sense, right? The Arctic trade routes and shipping, defense purposes, Russia and China's interest up there in the Arctic. But the elites freaked out over Trump's direct, undiplomatic style. It was seen as rude and insulting and as a threat to proper ways of talking. Look what the reaction was to it. Urgent meetings, military planes flying back and forth, warnings about broken alliances, and a strong pushback from the leaders like, Canada's Mark Carney calling out coercion and urging countries to stand up to the big powers and a new world order. Yet Europe's own real vulnerabilities, like their blown up pipelines and their border testing and their social strains and mass immigration destroying the continent, got way less outrage. Almost none, in fact. In fact, you're seen as an evil person for even bringing some of those things up. And at the end of the day, Europe seems to care much more about managing stories and narratives and polite words than actually facing the hard realities that are destroying the continent. They get angrier and angrier over tone and etiquette than they do over, actual damage to their energy or their security or their daily lives or the lives of their women and children. So, it's wild. But none of this means doom is inevitable, by the way. But decline of societies and civilizations and countries, it often happens pretty quietly, slowly. It's managed by people who prioritize their own comfort over just having a clear narrative about the world. Because words are hurting people more than actual real losses do. And the problem is not the words. It is the priorities of the people and the political elites. So fix your priorities or continue the slow, tragic decline into irrelevance and extinction.